So, absent giant changes in the world economy or immigration rates, the stuck housing market could continue for a while. You could still call it a slowdown, but after 3 years, it's probably best to call it the new reality.
Everyone seems to be waiting for home prices to rebound. But at least in Greater Vancouver, the data is telling us that there's still room to drop. If you're a homeowner in the Greater Vancouver area right now and you have even thought about selling your home, you're probably thinking something along these lines. Should I sell now or should I wait until next year or later anyway? We've been having this very same conversation a couple of times a week for the past, 6 months. And it's a very fair question to ask because ultimately nobody wants to make a mistake. But there's a few factors that most people don't think about that can help us answer this question a little bit better. So let's jump in. Home prices in Greater Vancouver peaked in about mid-2022. And then as you can see from the graph, they took a pretty steep nosedive afterwards. And some areas have actually recovered a little bit, but all in all, over the past couple of years, it's been a pretty steady decline for home prices. But the thing is, prices haven't collapsed. They did drop after 2022, but then they rebounded. So why is that gentle decline in prices still happening? Well, the average buyer today probably bought somewhere between 2017 and 2020. Now we know that because on average, most people move every about 5 to 7 years. And this is because life changes. They get a new job, they start planning for kids, or they get a divorce, whatever. And anybody who bought back then, they still have enough equity in their homes to actually drop their prices further. Well, without losing money anyway, of course. So these kinds of people, they're not panicking to what the market's doing, they're just adjusting. But if you bought closer to the 2022 peak, you're in a much different spot. You might want to sell, but right now you probably can't without taking a pretty big loss. And that's part of why inventory has been climbing, because there's a mix of sellers. Some of them still have hopes that they can hit those 2022 prices. And others, the ones that are actually selling their homes, well, they're the ones that have more realistic expectations. But ultimately, what this means is that if you're a buyer in this market, you've got plenty of options. And sellers kind of have to get creative to compete and stand out amongst the crowd. Now, let's fast forward a little bit into 2026, into next year. 2026 is when the largest portion of the low interest rate mortgages are going to be renewing across Canada. And of course, Greater Vancouver, the Lower Mainland, is no exception to that. So people who locked in rates around 1.5–2%, well, they're going to be renewing now closer to 4%, maybe even a little higher. And on a $500,000 mortgage, that's a little over $600 extra per month that they're going to be paying on their mortgage payments. Now, $600 a month is probably not enough for most people to go into default or for foreclosure, but it's certainly enough to squeeze people's budgets and change their plans. Most homeowners won't be necessarily forced to sell, but a lot of them will be pressured to. So ultimately that means that we're still likely to see inventory climb through next year. And there's the other half of the picture to consider here too, and that's buyers. Buyer confidence is still really shaky. Every single week there's a new headline that is causing people to hesitate, to hold off. Whether it's layoffs or talk about recession or more tariff stuff or geopolitical issues. Whatever, there's lots of things for buyers to be concerned about right now. And every time one of these stories comes up on the news, buyers hesitate. They take longer to write offers. They take longer to make decisions. And we know that when demand slows and inventory goes up, prices come down. So when those sellers that are renewing their mortgages into an uncomfortable position are actually looking to list their homes for sale, they're going to be doing so in an environment where buyers don't have a ton of confidence, where buyers are selective and they're in no rush. And they're especially not looking to overpay on anything. So the big question on everybody's mind that we started this video with is, should you sell now or should you wait? And here's what we tell people in these weekly conversations that we're having. Waiting can feel safe, but it only works if you think prices are going to increase during the time frame that you can wait. And most people are planning these sales around bigger life events. They're not just selling for fun. They're selling because they're planning to have kids, or maybe they're starting to look at retirement, or whatever. There is something else that's driving them to do this. But more often than not, these people don't have a 3 to 5 year waiting period to start their retirement. They want to do it sooner than that. So right now, inventory is high, affordability is tough, and buyers basically have all the leverage. That's not a recipe for prices to rebound. It's a setup for prices to continue to go down. And with even more inventory likely to hit the market in 2026, that's not likely to change anytime soon. So if you're sitting on solid equity and you're planning to move anyway because of that life event that's coming up, ask yourself this question instead. Is it riskier to sit and wait and hope that buyers feel more confident next year? Or is it better to make a decision based on what the market is telling you right now today? Trying to time the market is and always has been a gamble. But responding to what the market is actually telling you, well, that's just smart strategy. If you want to talk strategy with us, there's a link in the description below. I'm Angelo with the Atlas Group. I'll see you in the next one.